Australia's manufacturing and innovative industries have been on the decline for decades, while other countries have built strong industrial bases and have become dominant forces in the global economy. However, countries like Australia, and to a greater extent the United States, have struggled to remain competitive. But why is this? In today's video, we're going to be looking at why Australia struggles so much with manufacturing, the problems we've faced because of this, and how this could be turned around in the future. For a bit of context, Australia was one of the last nations in the developed world to remove most barriers of trade, such as tariffs, quotas, and local content rules. Most people agree that Australia abandoned most of its protectionist policies between the 1980s and 1990s, during the Hawke-Keating governments, in favour for a more free trade and globalised economy. The reforms were aimed at addressing issues of productivity and slow economic growth, as the nation was falling behind its international counterparts. While these reforms broadened the Australian economy, many Australia's domestic manufacturing and specialist industries either shut down or moved offshore. This resulted in the rapid decline of domestic manufacturing and high structural unemployment, which forced the Australian economy to restructure and find new industries where it would be internationally competitive. The economy quickly shifted from manufacturing base to a primary industries base, acquiring low-value added products such as coal, iron, wheat, and wood, while the rapid expansion of the financial and service sector, such as education, became key industries for Australia. As for why Australia struggles with manufacturing, it's primarily due to the lack of international competitiveness. Other countries have both comparative and absolute advantages, allowing them to produce more high-value added products with a lower opportunity cost, and are able to produce more of those goods through economies of scale. The key problem is that manufacturing in Australia is quite expensive. Wages, electricity, and rent are significantly higher than in countries like China or Vietnam. This makes it difficult for local manufacturers to compete on price, pushing businesses offshore. In simple terms, it's cheaper to operate in a country like China and export goods to Australia than it is to produce domestically for the same product. Government intervention in manufacturing has also been inconsistent and at times counterproductive. Take the Holden car factory, a once major employer, but was shut down in 2017 after years of mismanagement and abrupt withdrawal of subsidies. Without long-term strategic support, industries struggled to survive. Australia also has a population of just 26 million, far smaller than manufacturing powerhouses like China, the US, or Germany. This limits economies of scale, making it harder for manufacturers to achieve the high production volumes needed to be cost competitive. Our nation is also quite far from global markets, which makes logistics expensive. Freight costs, long shipping times, and reliance on international supply chains makes it harder for manufacturers to compete with companies in Asia, Europe, and North America. Our nation also faces a shortage of skilled workers in advanced manufacturing fields like engineering and automation. Fewer students are pursuing STEM, so that's science, technology, engineering, and maths degrees, which limits the potential talent pool for high-tech industries. The economy, as mentioned before, is heavily skewed towards mining and services, and this has led to what's been quoted as Dutch disease, where a strong resource sector drives up the currency, making manufacturing exports more expensive and less competitive, while primary industries are less affected. In simple terms, industries in Australia harm other industries. On the other hand, advanced economies have boosted productivity through automation, robotics, and AI-driven manufacturing. Australia has been slow to adopt these technologies, meaning local manufacturers struggle to compete with more efficient overseas producers. Australia has signed numerous free trade agreements, reducing tariffs on imported goods. While this benefits the consumers with cheaper products, it also exposes local manufacturers to intense competition from low-cost producers, without offering them adequate protection. For example, CHAFTA and ASEAN economic agreements removed barriers further in the Asian market, which has been extremely dominant in manufacturing of electronics, cars, and other discretionaries. Now that we've addressed some of these problems, here are some of the ways that ourselves and the federal government can tackle these issues. Rather than focusing on low-tech manufacturing, Australia will likely have to invest in high-value, specialised industries like aerospace, medical technology, or green energy. These specialised manufacturers are much easier for a country like Australia to adopt, rather than products such as toys, cars, or basic machine parts, as many of these so-called leading-edge technologies are still new and that there is still time for many countries to invest and adopt them. Manufacturing should play to Australia's strengths. Sectors where we have a competitive advantage and minimal opportunity costs like lithium battery production or defence tech can be potential avenues in the future. Countries like Germany, South Korea have heavily subsidised manufacturing innovation. Australia could do the same, funding R&D and to make local industries globally competitive. Australia could also bring back forms of protectionism, such as tariffs, quotas, and anti-dumping laws, that could prevent domestic manufacture from being undercut by cheap imports, particularly from China. Temporary protection could give new industries time to grow and become self-sufficient. This is called protecting the infant industry argument. Lastly, the increase in energy costs over the past years, both due to supply shortages and excessive demand, have put strain on domestic manufacturers and households alike. A more recent example is Whyalla Steelworks, which entered administration in February due to financial difficulties caused by high input costs like electricity and a lack of domestic market investment, such as subsidies to support the steelworks. While the South Australian government has taken part in administration, it is uncertain if there is an interested buyer and exactly what the State Labor and Liberal Party plan to do about the plant. With all of this said, there is also the counter-argument that free trade and participating in the international economy has its consequences, and that despite the fall in domestic manufacturing, Australian wages, quality of life, and the standard of living have risen, and that most industries have remained in this country. The bottom line is that manufacturing won't thrive in Australia unless the government commits to long-term strategic investment, smart subsidies, and selective protectionism. Without action, Australia will remain a country that digs things up and ships them out, while importing high-value products that other nations create. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed our content, consider subscribing and ringing the bell so you can keep in the loop regarding the important news stories from the world and around Australia. We're also pleased to announce the release of our 5th edition of the Snapshots newsletter. This edition highlights the significant global headlines, as well as major news from Australia and beyond. You can access for free in the link provided down below. Lastly, I'd like to thank our regular supporters and the team for making this video possible. Your support is crucial, and if you'd like to help, consider buying us a coffee, our merchandise, or purchasing a premium membership. Once again, I'm Heath Clark, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.